Tahoe like that earlier that year, like a month before, and did it in about 58 and a half. And I knew it was getting questionable. But then once I crossed 60 to 64, the hallucinations were so hard and vivid that I had one crew member at Moab. I basically had him jump out onto the trail with me for the last 18 miles.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell anybody this, but I really need you to tell me why we're out here. I need to tell you. I mean, and I need you to like guide me through the rest of this course, so that I even like know what that flag is, what that means. Like I got down to like
Super
3 year
deep.
old brain. Like yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy.
I want to welcome our Patreon live audience here. We just started the after show with Sean, and he was telling us a bit about his dealing with sleep deprivation at Moab, having to get to a point. He basically, Sean, you can probably correct me here, but you were saying 60 hours is like that threshold where you can run without sleep, and to even figure that point out, you have to experiment or limit it to very brief periods of time where you can go for running for 60 hours. And then beyond that, things just sort of break down. So Sean was just sort of retracing his steps and talking about the hallucinations and having to have a crew member jump in with him to talk you basically into continuing on, and that you were in a place that you were supposed to be in. And that's
It got
wild.
real for sure. Yeah, that was the 2017 Moab 240, and
So Sean
I
plays
lit
second, just behind Courtney Dauwalt here.
Just behind her.
Just behind.
cars behind her. That was quite the experience, and shout out to my buddy Josh for saving me there, hopping in the last 18 and the last 8 to 10 miles. He literally had to give me instructions about why we were out there. Why did we need to go? Like what was the purpose? Like I didn't even really understand that at that point, and we were closing in on 64, 65 hours about.
Wow.
And so I told him like you have to explain to me and keep explaining to me why, like tell me why that flag is important. And we were going through a really weird section. It wasn't a trail. It was like the at that time the course had all these boulders, like mountain biking type boulders, that had these like little lines painted on them. There was no trail, so to speak. So it was just
More
wide open.
blazes.
Yeah, exactly. There's more blazes, and it's middle of the night. Also, that year they did this thing where you run past the finish line. This is Candace's like uh, evil genius moment, but you pass the finish line. So right about when I passed the finish line, I think Courtney was finishing, and I still had 18 miles to keep running. But you start running away from the finish line, and it was like this evil, like this moment where I'm like, oh my god, I now have to go navigate another almost 20 miles. So that was pretty wild. But he got me through it. We got it done, and those are two good times.
I can't even imagine. We are joined in our after show by Sean Nakamura. We're going to get to some of these questions that were asked during the main show. If you are tuning into this after show, welcome. We appreciate you. We love the GR crew. So if you have additional questions for Sean, jump into this live chat room. So if you're viewing on Patreon, just click anywhere in this video and it will take you over to the YouTube page. It's where the live chat room is. And Kim's pulled some questions aside. So let's just rapid fire through them while we got them.
Yeah, a question from Thomas in the chat room. Thomas says, have you ever run with the Raven, or do you have plans to? It sounds like a cool thing for streak runners to do. And I had to ask Thomas who was the Raven because I didn't know. And Thomas said, Robert the Ravencraft has a 44-year streak going.
Wow.
Impressive. Yeah, I have. I think I've seen photos or videos of him running maybe on the beach before. So kind of maybe celebrating in some big group run, one of his remarkable accomplishments. I haven't met him before, but would be thrilled to run. Yeah, definitely to run with him. That'd be awesome. Maybe I'll need to research that as a follow-up item here, for sure.
Question from Crispin in the chat room. Crispin says, we always talk about bucket list races, but what do you go back to year after year?
Yeah, Tahoe 200 for sure. I've done San Diego 100 5 times. This was the first year I didn't do that with the grade 8. I could have fit it in technically. We chose to volunteer, which with the running skirts group at one of the aid stations, which was awesome and rewarding, and that was really fun. Just giving high fives out to folks coming through. But I would like to go back. It's our home course, so and then. In terms of like shorter distances, we like to do the LA Marathon we've done. I think this is going to be my ninth or eighth. We're just getting up there, so we're starting to get closing in on double digits, hopefully.
Sweet.
Another like good size and fairly local. We're in San Diego, so it's not too far. So those are a couple of them.
Question from Deb. Deb says, Sean, were you still running at Tahoe 200 when the snowstorm hit? How was that experience going from the 80s to snow?
That's a really good question. Unfortunately for other folks, I did finish in about 60 hours and change. And I think the snow came in for people who were out there for the next day, day 3. So I saw some incredible like footage and videos, and some of my friends out there were going through. Basically, it was like a winter wonderland. It looked like.
Looked crazy for that shift. It was insane. The shift from like the hot temps to the inches of snow.
And it was hot. I mean, it was hot the very first day, especially going through the Desolation Wilderness area, which is spectacular. That's partly where the Rubicon Jeep Trail, world famous Jeep Trail, is. And exposed in many cases. So, you could definitely feel the swing of temperatures over. But 2 years ago, I did pace a friend. So I finished the race, and then I went out to cheer on a buddy. And one of my friend Josh, actually, who ended up paying me forward at Moab, pacing me through that crazy section. So I hopped in and paced him for 20 miles. From Tahoe City to the Stephen Jones Memorial Aid Station, and we got hammered on, not with snow, but it was like torrential downpour, lightning, thunder, like you name it. The weather just like opened up its bag of tricks, and whoosh, it all came out, and that was quite the experience. So, but yeah, the photos were incredible. Kind of wish I was out there for some of the snow, but probably also thankful that I wasn't at the same time. So
impressive.
Question from Todd. Todd says, I may have missed this, but what is Sean's nutrition of choice for race day? Also, what is his calorie intake per hour during 100 milers?
So for the 100, I use Carbo Pro, and it's I do a lot of calories in my bottles. Typically 300 to 400 calories per bottle, and I don't drink straight water typically at all ever, because I want to make sure I'm getting the calorie intake in. And Carbo Pro is a complex carb mix. It's a very subtle sweetness to it, but not very much. And then you can mix other flavors or other electrolyte mixes to taste as needed. So that's one piece. One of the things I really like to put in there later in races, and I recently picked this up from another a badass ultra runner who was mentioning that they put Coke, like Coca-Cola, in their water bottles late in races. Like we all will have some at the aid stations, but I was like, oh, you're taking that with you. That's a really great idea. So I started mixing the Carbo Pro, which is the like complex carb, with sort of sugary goodness and the caffeine from the Coke. And if you're careful not to volcano that thing and have it fizz everywhere, you can kind of slow pour the Coke in there, and that's been like amazing. So I also use like Gnarly Nutrition sometimes. They do like a branch chain amino mix. It's really really nice to mix with the Carbo Pro. As well as like this orange pineapple electrolyte mix, which I really like. And so I do a little bit of that usually earlier in the race. I use Mirror Energy also for sort of like a gel-like experience. They're delicious. I'm hooked on like the red raspberry flavor. They also have basically their almond butter, cashew butter type mixes, consistencies. There's like a cacao almond and cashew vanilla are a couple of my favorites. I also use run gum. So like for help with like sleepiness at night, maybe a little extra pep for some part of the race where I'm feeling a little bit tired and want a little extra boost. That's a product that has like, I think it's equivalent of an energy drink, but it's just a chewing gum. So it's got caffeine and it'll absorb in the mouth versus waiting for like a drink to digest in the stomach.
Right.
And then I eat a lot of simple things at aid stations. So pretzels are a go-to. I eat a lot of pretzels during races. Also, being vegan, I'm a little more selective than maybe most runners. So plant-based foods. And there's a lot of accidentally vegan food items. So if you find, say, an Oreo cookie on the table, it's plant-based. That like a corn chip, like a plain corn chip, like a Frito or something like that. It's usually just corn and oil or potato chip. I have a pro tip. You might have figured this out already if you're listening, but this just occurred to me and I was really excited to share. So if you take a boiled potato and you take a potato chip or two and you sandwich them together, you have essentially what is a French fry. It is amazing. Everything leads back to just French fries in our household. So
That's what we're having for dinner.
Yeah, we're gonna smush some boiled potatoes between potato chips. This is brilliant. This is brilliant.
It took me only 8 years or 7 years of ultras or 6 years to figure that one out. And
now I'm picturing like a Ziploc baggie with potato chips that you crush, so it's powder, and then you take the boiled potatoes and just like shake it in there, and then you've got, man, this is brilliant. Sean dropping the knowledge bomb right there.
And one tip I would say is I try to go with small portions. So for longer stuff, if I see hummus on the table as a plant-based athlete, I'll go hummus and avocado. But I only do like a couple bites. I think one of the things that happens with a lot of runners, especially if they're relying solely on like food or gels, is maybe just consuming too much in one sitting instead of like slowly introducing calories into the system. And so when I see someone who's like chowing down a big burger or like some sort of like substantial 7,000-8,000 calorie type thing, I'm thinking that's probably going to come up. They're not going to be able to hold that down. And the other part to that is your body can only digest so many calories per hour. So I try to put it right at that threshold. And when I say 300 to 400 calories per bottle, I'm maybe getting through a bottle every hour to hour and a half. So just if you kind of divide the math there, shooting for 200 to 300 calories maybe per hour minimum. And if the effort level is dialed up, then certainly dialing up the calorie intake as needed. But those are, I try to keep it simple, small portions, avoiding greasy, like super greasy things. I think the grease will like block the absorption rate in the stomach. So if you have like a coating of just a greasy burger or something, which I think would, you go for it afterwards, but like when you're in the race, just I recommend reconsidering. Then like things that are just heavy in dairy, it's a similar thing. But try it out, try what works for you. And if you're finding that the heavier foods are challenging to digest, it's a resource thing with the body where your body now has to send all this energy to your stomach. And usually it's more complicated the more greasy the food. So just kind of keep it in mind. Those are a couple of things that I follow that work for me pretty well. So I've been sticking with that. I can't remember the last time I had a stomach issue from a race. But yeah.
That's good expert advice right there. Sean, we can't thank you enough, man, for taking the time out tonight, especially after such the chaotic travel that you've had over the last few months, and being able to sit down with you and pick your brain a little bit is just wonderful. And I know our viewers are going to agree. So again, thank you, man. Thank you so much. Can you just remind like our GR crew, because our GR crew members they're super passionate and really, really thankful all the time. Just remind them where they can find you on social media and stuff like that.
Of course. So Ultra Runner at SD, just the word Ultra and then Runner, and then SD for San Diego. That's Instagram and also Twitter, but I'm mostly active on Instagram. And if you send me a message, DM me or anything like that, or comment, I'll definitely follow up. That's actually a lot of fun for me. I get a lot of amazing questions, and if I can help you in any way, then it's that'd be an honor for me. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining us tonight. And thank you, GR crew, for being who you are. Just wonderful humans through and through. So that's going to wrap up our after show for this week. Next week's show is the big one. It's GR 2019. It's our Ginger Runner Global Run, and it'll be our awards show. Very excited about it. This weekend on Sunday, runners from around the world are going to log their 2-hour run for GR. I sent out an email earlier today. If you are signed up, registered, and participating, you should have received that email. If you did not, drop me a line on social media or at thegingerrunner@gmail, and we'll make sure that you get that email. But that did go out. It does have all the links and stuff to where you'll submit your results and everything like that. But
And that is Sunday, October 13th. I think you said Saturday in the main show.
I did, but I thought I corrected it
Oh,
because
okay.
I realized I said Saturday during the main show. I was like, no, Sunday. Sunday, October 13th, 2019. I can't wait. So happy weekend, everybody. We'll probably see you later this week with another live stream of some sort, but very, very excited. And again, thank you to our wonderful guest tonight, Sean Nakamura.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
thank you, guys.
Everyone, have a great rest of your evening. We appreciate you, and we'll see you at the next one. Get out there, train hard, race harder, party the hardest. Bye.
Goodbye.